Hi there. My name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast. I'm going to take you on a journey all around the world where we're going to talk with business owners and business leaders about marketing trends and techniques that are going to help you stand out from your competition. So let's roll up our sleeves and let's jump in. Today is going to be a great day, and it is because I am starting off my day talking with Sharon Combs. Sharon Combs is the founder of Knowledge and Nonsense. She is also a speaker and an instructor for UCDI Development Leadership Training. Now, Sharon, I'm so excited to talk to her because she's also in the sterile processing industry, which is a new industry for me, but I've done a lot of research in it. So let's jump in and talk to Cheryl about everything.
All right. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you, Donna, to speak with you, to answer some questions. You said sterile processing is a new industry for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people are unaware of sterile processing. It's a vibrant industry. It's actually like $1 billion industry. And even within healthcare, a lot of times people don't even know where it is in the hospital unless something goes wrong. But sterile processing is a dedicated group of professionals, and it is an industry that is worthy of being known.
Oh, definitely. It's so important. I went and watched a video this weekend about the whole process, and I never realized there were so many steps about it. And I could go in and quickly give people an excerpt about what it is, but I think I better put that over to you, because if I do it, you're the expert in the space.
Okay. And yes, I'm going to come back right off of that one. I do not consider myself a sterile processing expert. I do consider myself a member in the field. I am a certified CRCST. There are different levels of certification. But sterile processing it really handles all of the instruments that go into any procedure, whether you're dealing with endoscopy, labor and delivery, anything that doctor is going to use. Those instruments have to be sterile. And in order for them to be sterile, they have to be clean. A lot of people just think clean. Okay, clean the instruments. No, they have to be sterile. There are a lot of things you cannot see. It's the invisible bugs that you want to worry about. And so there are things that can be in the air, airborne. Biofilm is where there's a coating that's left on instruments that you may not even be able to see initially. A bioburden, this will be gross, but just think about things that have been used. And if they're not properly cleaned and then sterilized to kill what you can't see with the naked eye, then it's likely that maybe a procedure you have, Donna, may have like bioburden from me coming into your body. And that's not, your DNA isn't equipped for that. I know so sterile processing, it is a thing, man. Technology being what it is. You have autoclaves, you have people, they test the instruments to make sure that scissors that are used in process are going to be effective when they're there. And so,
and what I didn't realize that in the process, there's a whole human, because from what I saw the video, the first step is human cleaning. A human is sitting there actually manually cleaning each instrument before it starts to go through the different sterilization process. And like you said, when other people say, oh, instruments for surgery, you just think, okay, I hope they washed them, but it's not like that.
And the instruments are so complex. It's not like there's just a scalpel. As a matter of fact, scalpels really don't come through sterile processing because those are sharps. And so you may not, the sharper instruments that somebody could reach in and cut themselves with, a lot of that happens kind of in the OR. But as soon as they're finished, even while the patient is, still on the table or still open under anesthesia, like there's something that's called point of use cleaning. At that moment, they're wiping it off. They're letting it, or sitting in something that's going to help break down that's going to break down the fluids and I'll just call it gunk, but the bioburden type things. And then it starts this process where it comes into decontamination. And the person in there receiving those instruments, they're PPE'd up. I know we're coming out of a pandemic, and so people are like, PPE, PPE. But the person in sterile processing is PPE'd up. I mean, shield, everything, because those bugs, not the bugs that you see moving around, but those invisible bugs, those germs, those airborne, those pathogens, they're in there. And so they're killing everything in sterile processing, HIV, COVID, hepatitis. So, you know, when the pandemic hit, people, we giggled a little bit, but it was like sterile processing is the safest place to be because we already were attacking these pathogens, these viruses, and killing them. Good. And so that process goes all the way through until they wrap the instruments or place them in sets. And once they're in those sets, you can't look in and say, oh, did I put my keys, or did I lock the door? Did I do this? You can't go back in and look. You have to check everything before, because the moment you crack the seal, it is no longer sterile. Even though it's still clean, it's no longer sterile. So it has to start the entire process all over. And that can be like another 4 hours.
Wow. Well, I'm happy to hear that in case I have to ever have a surgery. But now in regards to COVID, you know, you mentioned it. Did you see any major changes within that industry when COVID hit, or because you were already doing it so precisely, there wasn't a lot of change?
Okay. And so I saw both. Okay. The answer is yes on both sides. It was a two-part. Yes. There was both, because we have a human element and we're people. Everyone is a person. And so you did see like some chaos, you know, you did see like some chaos and some uncertainty. And there were a lot of industry agencies, you know, CDC, different things, putting out what we call EUAs, emergency use authorizations, just saying things at the beginning. I don't know if you remember when the pandemic first hit, even before it really shut us down, people were like, well, it'll be over by Easter. I don't know if you remember, it'll be over by Easter. Yeah. And then it was like, Black people don't get it. You know, if you're a person of color, you don't get it. Young people don't have to worry. It's only hitting older individuals. Right. And working in the sterile process. And I'm like, it's a virus. A virus wants a host. A virus is not like, hey, what's your age? A virus wants a host. It needs a host to live, you know?
Doesn't matter your age, color, your
demographics.
Sex, it doesn't matter. Yep.
It's looking for a place to live. And because at the time people were unsure, is it airborne only? Is it an envelope, which means does it have something, a protective coating that makes it harder to get to? Yeah. So there were all those questions. And so there was some chaos and some confusion and really fear. There was fear. Now we put different labels on it, but it was fear of the unknown, and fear because it was happening here in this first world country. And so we were shook. People were shook. But then you had your stable individuals like Sharon Golden. She travels the world teaching on sterilization. She's been on the Today Show. Just, she knows what she knows. And she was like, what are you doing? She really began to use her voice to say, hey, follow the process. We have viruses that are a lot stronger than COVID. Yeah. There's something called Crutchfield-Jacobs. It's like when instruments are used on patients with that who are undergoing that, who are holding that diagnosis, who are experiencing that, there's nothing you can do with those instruments. They don't even send them to be sterilized. That's how potent. Wow. That's how potent that is. And so, you know, like Green Gold and HSPA, the people who are in the side of the industries, like your chapter leaders and your managers, like some of the industry voices really stood up and said, hey, calm down, follow the process.
Have faith in what you know and what you've been doing all along, because you had good processes in place.
We have processes in place already for this.
Good.
Now, true hospitals, as far as the hospital beds, they were not designed for the influx of people the way it came. So there weren't ICU beds. But as far as the sterilization process, she was like, hey, hold your form. These processes are in place for a reason. And
I
then
think
like
people
after
need
about,
that. You know, people
Hmm?
need that. They need to have a strong authoritative figure that really knows the industry to say, we've got this. We've been doing it
Yeah.
all along. Believe in yourself and continue what you're doing.
Yeah, believe in the process.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, again, because people are people, there were some people in the industry, like managers, who, even though they know this and they've been in the field for years,
Yeah.
like they just left the hospital. They're like, no, I want to go be with my family. You know, almost like if the world is going to end, these are the people I want to be around when it ends.
Yeah.
Because initially it was almost that type of fire sale, you know,
Right.
because people didn't know. They didn't know.
No.
And then I think later, like with the supply chain, not being able to get PPE, so about 4 or 5 months in, that's what sterilization, the
That makes
sterile
sense.
processing community, they began to feel it then, because you can't do your job without PPE. You cannot go into decontamination without PPE. You cannot reuse things in decontamination.
Mhm.
If your gown is wet and soiled, it's wet and soiled. You can't put that back on.
Right. Well,
You're
this
gonna
is
hit
very
something worse than COVID.
Yeah. Oh, this is very interesting. And I love learning about different industries, but you're right. You know, stay strong, know what you're doing. So this leads into my next question, because here she was such a great leader for your industry that she was able to permeate down to everyone to say, stay the course. We have everything in place. And this feeds into your other line of work where you do speak and instruct and do leadership development training.
Yeah.
And the next topic is, for me, I am passionate about relationship building. Being in marketing right now, everything is about relationship building. But I think relationships building has to come from the top down to your marketing department. So leaders need to show that they truly care about their employees and that they want to build a relationship with them. And then the marketing team will understand that. So how are you teaching leaders to be more, I don't want to say authentic. Yeah, I do want to say authentic, be more authentic in really getting to know their employees.
Okay. Well, what we use, as far as, we have a couple of methodologies that we use with UCDI, and that I use these two. First off, I'm a big fan of personalities, not as a label, but understanding that when people are pressed, their default personality comes out. So you're going to get authenticity, whether you get it consistently or not, who knows? But when pressure comes, authenticity comes too, you know?
Yeah.
And so we really use the personalities, not about the people themselves, but for the leaders to recognize it's about others. Everything you do is going to be about others. And so in working with their team, if they have a general understanding of personalities, then that can help them not internalize something. That can also help them not make statements that can create an unnecessary divide. It takes a lot longer to heal a wound than to get one, you know? It takes a lot longer to regain trust. You know, you understand what I'm saying? The cleanup is a lot longer.
That was when I used to say to my kids all the time, I'm like, this is the circle of trust. If you break that circle, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get in that circle again.
Yes.
You're right. Yes.
And that's so real. And so we actually hit that because, to me, that's core. Yeah, regardless of profession, regardless of industry, that's core. And so for the leaders in dealing with their teams, helping them understand personalities as a tool, not as a label, not as a barrier, but as a tool to keep your people engaged. And we also teach on transition. Most people think of transition like death, marriage, kids going to college, you know, like becoming an empty nester, some huge life-changing event, but transition happens all the time. A new manager, a new employee, and there are stages of it, which go from honeymoon all the way down to crisis and depression before you have to assess new methods and come out testing it at a higher level than the honeymoon phase.
Yes.
And so I make them aware of the phases, because in sterile processing, you follow a process. Sterile processing. Stages of change is simply a process. Now it differs based on the person as far as the length, how long someone may be in crisis, how long the honeymoon phase. But if they can get that part, you can teach the sterile process. But if you can get that part, then what happens is you allow people to have, it's almost like grace for their moments.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
human moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It allows the leadership to have grace for the human moments. And the moment you have grace for a human moment with most people,
Well, you've got them.
we're a team.
Yes.
You care about me.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
You
yep,
cared about me.
you got my heart. Then, you know, if leaders can show that they truly care, and like you said, understand those transitions, not the typical ones, but you're able to communicate them in the way the individual needs it.
Yeah.
There's no price you can put on
thing.
that. Yeah, there's no price on that.
It's like, have you ever, many people, I'm not even just gonna say you, think about, for your listeners even, think about when you really, maybe you really messed up, or maybe you really just had a rough day, you know, and in that moment, somebody just saw you, not just the behavior, but they actually saw what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
And you may be going through uncertainty. You're going through a phase of this transition, right?
Yes.
But I'm not going to lock you into that phase. I'm going to see you where you are. I'm going to engage with you there, but I'm not going to hold you prisoner to that.
Right.
I'm not going to, you were frustrated one day, so you were rude to me. If I understand that that's a phase of transition or just a phase of pressure, then it helps me not internalize it.
Right.
It helps me not be like, oh no, she's disrespectful, or she's not going to talk to me that way.
Right. And you won't react. You won't react in a way that will just escalate the whole thing to another level, and then the whole thing's a mess. Yeah.
By the grace of God, I do not react. Now, I'm sure, like, no one's perfect. There's an exception to every rule, but I believe practice makes permanent. And just like doctors practice medicine, whether they are actually engaged in the operation or not, it's a practice. I practice this daily, because why do I need to escalate it? Who wins? It's a lesser victory. If I'm set out, Donna, to prove to you, oh, you're not going to talk to me and I'm going to get you back. And to be clear, there's a large percentage of Americans that do that. But to me, that's a lesser victory.
To me, that's a waste of energy. That's a waste of my energy, because now basically you've taken my energy. You've taken my energy and put it to this level that's not where I was operating. I want to operate here.
Yeah, I have become your compass.
That's it. It's like you're dictating my whole being. And I'm like, no, that's not happening. You've got to be the captain of your ship. I don't know what else you want to call it, but so I agree with what you're saying. I don't know if I'm as good as you. I try to practice it every day, but it's easy to get caught sometimes in that moment. And I do try to grab myself back.
And again, that's why I really believe combining the personalities with, like, the mastering transition, you get emotional intelligence as a byproduct, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know your own personality or aware of your own triggers, how can you be aware of someone else's? And what happens is now we become oppositional. Now we're an oppositional team. Now it's they and us. Yes. They may be the supervisors and the leadership, and then us. And when you hear a lot of they and us, how are we going to be they and us? And we're in one team. We're all working together, Yes. What? Come on. Yeah. And so, I just try to really make it plain, make it relatable, and encourage people. So wherever they find themselves on that integer line, or that bell curve, wherever you find yourself, you don't have to stay where you find yourself. As a matter of fact, life has proven that you won't stay where you find yourself. So just be aware of you, and let's ride this thing together. Let's walk it out.
Well, you played right into my next question, because my next question is, yes, you've got leaders and you've got employees. So you're trying to get everyone to work together as a team. But now, how do you get your marketing and your sales team, so different departments, to take on that whole philosophy of we need to work together, because at the end of the day, it's to have the company succeed.
All right. So with the clients I work with, we do have sales and marketing teams. With the marketing, The marketing to me is challenging. I just must be honest, because marketing is going to look at analytics. They're looking at data so much that even when they're thinking about people, they're thinking of like the biases and how do I sway them? So it's not like, how do I authentically get them to know we love them? No, it's how do we make this job look as sexy as possible? How do we make this look like the thing that you must have?
Yes.
You know, and so marketing is looking at analytics for that.
Yeah.
They're looking at analytics, and
But
they're looking at where someone wants to go as far as vision. So a lot of times marketing isn't looking at their KPIs really are based in sales, clicks, visibility. It's not really based on, hey, I care for you based as a person. So in order to get the marketing into it, probably your sales team is going to have to be able to present. They're going to be the bridge. Yeah. So with marketing, I don't want to sit up here and say, this is exactly how you do it with marketing. And I've thought about this question. I was like, maybe I should Google something. But even if I Google something, then I'm telling you something that I don't really know. It's a guess at best. And I don't want to give you a guess at best. Now with the sales team, what I found it works as far as getting them involved and saying, we are a we. Yeah. Is sometimes you have to let them hold their own, what I call mess. Like when you have so many sales and you're so busy getting the sale that maybe you sacrificed or compromised or was dismissive of somebody else's part in the process. Okay. And so now they have to work double or they have to leave their process to do it. As an exception, okay. But when that becomes your practice and your pattern, and then it's chaotic because what you promised is not actually something that was to be delivered, or what you gave is not actually part of that package. Yeah. Once it becomes a pattern, I let them hold it.
And plus, if it becomes a pattern, it won't be sustainable. They're not going to be able to. It's not
sustainable at all. Yeah. And it undermines their trust circle for the company.
Yes.
You may have gotten a sale, but the company took a hit. And so now everybody is doing damage control, from fulfillment to marketing, because now they have to do damage control on the public. So what I have learned to do is, once I see it as a pattern, especially if somebody's a great salesman, like they get the close. Once I see it as a pattern, I let them hold their own confusion, hold their mess, which means you are going to be the person to go back.
You're going to dig yourself out of it.
Going to get cussed out. You are going to be the person to go back and say, this is what I did. And they're going to have to own that.
Yeah. I think that's
after a few ownership moments, they actually begin to, in my experience, the ones that I've done this with, they begin to say, hey, you know what, listen, we can't do that. This is what we can do. Yeah. Because the sale is going to come. Right. The sale's going to come. Your product is good customer service. The sale's going to come. You just keep treating people like people and being authentic. Right. Like I don't know. I hope that answered your question. With the sales team, I let them hold it.
Yeah, in two ways it does. Marketing, I have to tell you, I will chime in here because that's my background, but I will now sit down with clients, and yes, there's a lot of analytics and people love those numbers, but you got to break it down to the old way of doing marketing by seeing who is really interested in your product and service, who's going to buy from you year after year. Stop chasing the numbers and make sure you have a grasp of that, of your specific audience. And then in regards to sale, I'm ownership. Like I'll say to my team, if you make a mistake, which I encourage failure, I don't mean, don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? I want my employees to always feel that they can take an initiative, a new initiative, and try it. And maybe it's not going to work, but at least we tried. Versus some companies stay so stagnant. They're so scared to make a move because is it going to definitely work? It's not the real world.
It's not. It's not.
And I think leaders have to encourage their employees to be a little bit more innovative. And it's going to be okay if sometimes things don't work out, but they're going to learn from that mistake. And then they can go into different areas.
Listen, if the only innovation that comes into your company is external,
Yeah.
you're a consumer. You are a company, but you are just a major consumer. The people who understand your processes, they are going to have ideas to make a process more streamlined, to make a process better. Have we thought about this? Let them try it out. I'm with you on that. Let them try it out.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for innovation. Don't look over innovation. It's probably right there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I heard someone say yesterday, instead of using the word fail, use fell or fall. Because both of those, you just get back up.
True.
And I thought, okay, that is good. But I know for me, what's the point of having all these great people on my team if I don't let them show their true colors, show their innovative, their creativity? Otherwise, I might as well just make a bunch of robots of Donna. I'll have all Donnas.
You know what? That is a sign of maturity on your part, though.
I'm
that is a
mature.
sign of maturity. No, okay, business maturity. I'll say that is business acumen.
You just call me
It's
old.
business acumen. Do you know how many people start? Let's go back. Your first year in business. Let's go back. And so, let's go back. Your first year when you were in business, did you or did you not want a bunch of Donnas? Just tell the truth.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay, so if you wanted now, do you want a bunch of Donnas?
No.
So I just want to go back to your first year in business. When people start business because they're passionate, they have drive and dedication. If I could just clone myself, I could get it all done.
Yes.
But if you clone yourself, that also limits because you see things a certain way. You don't know your blind spots all the time, and you know you're driving. So no, yeah. Let the innovation grow from within. And that's, man, I don't know how you get there, but that's just comes with time, being in business, understanding the nuances.
The sad part is a lot of companies, what do they say? 94% of all companies fail before their 10th anniversary. So they haven't had that opportunity to go through those years of figuring it all out or reinventing. World Innovators, we're 41 years. We've had a lot of years, a lot of events, 9/11, anthrax scares, COVID, a whole bunch of events that put our company on its ear that you had to go and reinvent. So my knowledge comes from years of experience. So.
I just felt such a heartbreak there. Even as I'm celebrating the years of experience, I felt such a heartbreak when you said 90, you said 90%? 95?
I think they say 94% of all companies fail before their 10th anniversary.
And that's such a heartbreak to me because they're fighting so hard to remain, but they're probably fighting incorrectly.
Yes.
They're punching in the wrong direction. You're in a boxing match and you're punching in the corner, but the thing the target you need to hit is behind you. Yeah. So they're punching with all of their energy. If I could just clone some more Sharons and get some more Donnas, and you're putting all your energy, resources, your whole dream is based on like a fallacy. There's no way this one-legged stool is going to stand sustainably. You're not going to be able to scale. You're not,
Yes,
and so
you're
when
right.
you said that just broke my heart because you think of how many businesses really, really, really want to be successful, but you're fighting the wrong fight. And so what you're working so hard for, you're not going to be able to keep.
Right.
And I see that in sterile processing, not in the process of it, but I see that with people. And that's why I really try to help people hold their form, de-escalate, understand transition, understand that transition is constant because change is inevitable.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Everywhere there's change, transition follows.
Yeah.
Change is instant, transition is the process.
Yeah. Everyone kept saying COVID, companies needed to pivot. And I felt like saying, well, over the years, we've pivoted a few times because of different events that occurred. But now you just played into my last question for you because I don't want to hold you too long. It's about that importance of having that mentor and coach for professionals. How it's so important to do exactly what you just said you like to do with companies. You try to make sure that they are on that path, that they're achieving goals that they need to, so that this company lasts for years.
Yeah.
But what other tips do you have for that?
Well, I do it with companies and I do it with people.
Yeah.
It's the same process. It's the same process. So when it comes to pivoting and scaling, I just say make sure you have sustainable practices. Manage the expectations. Now, when people are in sales, say manage expectations, let them know this is when we're going to have the preventative maintenance, when we're going to do, but no, manage expectations with people, with your team, and with yourself. You have to manage expectations. When you start anything, there is a high phase. It's like, woohoo, we're doing it. Our sales were amazing, and they are amazing. And so at the high, make a vision. You can see better from the high, all the possibilities. It's like looking over a vista, standing at the Grand Canyon, all your little synapses in your brain are firing off. So make your vision there. Make your vision. Make your plans when you're in the day-to-day. The daily operations, make your plans considerate of the daily operations. Make your vision from the high possibility, make your plans from the daily operations, the daily. That way you manage your expectations and the expectations of your team, and you all can travel the same direction. And when you have the lows, don't do blame. I feel like starve, blame, and feed solutions. Yeah. Okay, we're having a low. Are we having a low because it's SWOT analysis? Are we having a low because of something external that's outside of our control? Yeah. Are we having a low because there was something we could have adjusted, but we didn't adjust? Use your low for reset. I reset once a year. I don't wait on the low to do it, but use your lows to reset. Look at what's working, what's not working, what's maybe antiquated or no longer needed. What is something that we have to have coming up? A lot of companies, when America was shut down for the pandemic, a lot of companies that used online as an option previous, now it was a need. It's an absolute necessity. So what do we need that we don't have in place? And so that's, for me, that's how I would help companies. I keep it so plain. It may not sound plain when I'm saying it, but I just keep it real plain.
You know what?
Your highs for vision.
Yeah, it is plain. And some of us will say, oh, if you're in business, it's common sense. But I have to tell you, I go into so many companies and they don't have it. They don't have that vision or mission, and they don't have goals. And then if they do have it, they haven't made sure that all the employees and freelancers and consultants that they have are aware of the mission. And you need that.
I have a client right now. I'm 4 weeks in with the training, right? Yeah. And it's a repeat client, and I love them, and they're awesome. But there's a young lady. And I said, hey, we're gonna do, this is what we're doing quarter 2. I'm gonna ask everybody about the vision and mission. Yeah. And the first time I asked, everybody gave a different statement that sounded beautiful, but if you listen, it was clear they didn't know what it was. The company's vision and mission. Yeah. But everybody said beautiful things. It was just euphemistically, it was wordplay on display. It was beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Yeah. What does it mean? What is the mission? And so they were so busy saying the beautiful words. Finally, I just said, why don't you guys just look at the website? Yeah. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, because after that, the next phase of that is, now I want you to tell me your departments, because these were leaders and they have people reporting to them. Now tell me your department's vision and mission and how it plays into the overall umbrella. Yes. So show me your umbrella, but your umbrella still has to be under this umbrella. And you're right. Yeah. We're 4 weeks in, and I asked the lady, just today's Thursday, so I don't know what today is, but
it is
a couple
Thursday.
of days ago. Yes. Today's Thursday, so Tuesday I asked her, first thing I was like, hey, let me know it. And she was profusely apologizing, and I'm like, yeah, people, your reports are on the line. Some of the people who report to you are on the line, and we're 3 weeks in. We had a buy. We're 3 weeks in, and you still don't know. And remember, I said I let the salesman hold it if I see it as a pattern. So the first 2 weeks, okay, we know where to find it. We know what the clear ask is. Yes. The third week, we had a buy. We didn't have a session. This is the 4th week. And I could feel everybody else in the meeting wanting to help her. And you would be like, this is dangerous. As a matter of fact, the VP was like, please don't let her quit. And I said, she's not going to quit. You know, she's here and she's passionate about the company. But what I did in that instance, back to what you're saying, I said, she's like, well, just circle back to me, you know, corporate speak, circle back to me and give me time to think about that answer. And my response was, no, we're going to sit here for this 60 seconds and we'll wait for you.
Yeah.
And it was an awkward 30 seconds. And then the second half of the 30 seconds, she went on, she found it online and began to say what it is, because that was a pattern.
Yeah.
And so you're right. There's so many people, like with organizations, they get the job, but they don't know the vision. And so they operate as silos. Yeah. And when you operate as silos, you have processes that aren't the process.
You
and
end
you're
up going in all these different
resources.
you go all over in these different directions. You're using all these resources, but you wonder why you're not obtaining your goal is because no one's heading in a direct line to achieve that goal.
It's not streamlined at all.
Yeah.
It's chaos, but we don't call it chaos because we're using corporate speak to make it sound like it's something else. But no, it's every man doing what's right, what they feel like.
That is, thank you so much. But before I go, I want to tell us about your book.
Oh, I will. And I will show it. Hold Your Form, Emotional Intelligence at its simplest. And I just really enjoyed this book. It's great for facilitating aha moments with the reader and with the people who are in the immediate sphere of the reader, whether that's your family, your team at work. But we just vet processes. Like if someone says something about you, we ask questions like, is it a valid criticism? Just because somebody said something that was a critique, is it valid? You know, we talk about circle of control versus circle of concern, and how you handle your control will increase your circle of influence. So the things you're concerned about, you may actually be able to influence now. But if you start at concern, then it works against you. We talk about being prepared, just how situations change. Yes. And you can't go into a new thing thinking only what you had in the old, the last thing is going to work. We definitely talk about transition. Again, just helping people not internalize everything. Reflect, yes. Learn from, yes. But don't internalize something as an attack or identify with something that is just a process. It just is so
important. That's so important, because if you don't do that, that's when things really go off kilter and for no apparent reason.
So, I mean, you just think about, you said world innovators, 41 years in. Just think about how many times quality employees, quality team members who know their job like the back of their hand have been distracted or derailed because someone or something didn't like them, or something happened that offended them. And even the person who did the offense may be totally unaware of it. Yeah. And that has presented a barrier or a blockage in your life. And in companies, it presents a barrier and a blockage to the bottom line. It presents a barrier and a blockage to positive morale. And before you know it, you have a toxic work environment. And so now the money that could have been bonuses for Christmas has to go to leadership training. And I'm here and I'm available. Maybe next year you can give out some bonuses because we're going to get that toxicity out of the way. Yeah. But you know,
well, you will. If you could get your leadership and your team all heading towards, like we said before, that direct path to achieving your goals, you will see, you will see your sales go up. But what you'll see is, because now that everyone is aware of the mission, every department has their mission, it's not just 1 year. That's when you see those sales go up nicely every year.
Yeah.
Which is a lot easier to deal with than when sales go like this.
Yeah. So. Yes. That's when you begin to build, and not just build, but now you can do more philanthropic giving. You can be more involved in communities.
Yes.
You can leverage your resources for more than just the day-to-day operations and keeping the doors open. And when you're I've seen it, and I know it's possible.
Yeah. And I was interrupting you. I'm sorry. When people do that, that's when people get that meaning and purpose in the job that they have right now. Some people think that in order to get meaning and purpose, and I was one of these people 20 years ago, I was in, business to business marketing. And I thought, really, is this it? What's my purpose? What's my meaning? But then I found meaning and purpose right where I was right then. I didn't need to do a big career change. For me, it was going out, helping other people. So I've helped people build their own, business to business marketing agency, or I help do the marketing for my church, or, I'm just saying, whatever your thing is, there are things you can do right now to give you that purpose and meaning to make your life happier. So.
If I had one, well, no, because I want more than one, but one of the things, if I had the power to just snap my fingers or click my heels and do it, it would be for people to really realize there's so much more life and activity outside of them than inside. And when you're in a toxic workplace, whether it's CYA, that's still you inside. Everything is inside there. Everything goes internal. And it's like the Dead Sea. Everything goes internal, so things aren't really able to live and thrive in it. If I could just click and say, there's more out there. It's not all the boogeyman. It's not all COVID and face masks. It's so much outside of yourself that is fulfilling and life-giving to self. Like doing more out there sometimes does take care of in here. Yeah. Not as an excuse and not as a number, not as an escape, but just from a place of fulfillment and like, okay. Yeah. So.
Just a quick, and then I'm going to let you go. For myself, I always felt I was too busy rushing to get everything done, that I had no time to do these other things. But I'm telling everyone who's listening right now, if you slow down and you find those things that have meaning and purpose, you will find you're still able to get things done, but you have a new energy that energizes your day and you're happier.
Yeah.
So you do have time. So people have to go out and find it. But Sharon, thank you so much. This was great. And, you and I could go on talking all day, I think, about this, but it's very interesting talking to you. And I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yes, myself included. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for hosting me. And please keep doing what you're doing.
I shall.
The energy, kindred spirit, please keep doing what you're doing, impacting and influencing people. So thank you so much.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss our next episode. And in the meantime, if you'd like to talk to me, please feel free to send me an email to dpeterson@worldinnovators.com. Till next time, have a great day.